Guys, after subscribing to this channel, please make sure that you also press the bell icon so that no notification, no new video of mine, any educational video, is missed by anybody.
Okay. So now I welcome again one and everybody who's there in the class tonight. Today it is the concluding lecture on contraception, and we have been through a very, very long journey, and we've touched upon almost every aspect of contraception. And tonight, since it's the last class, it's going to be the permanent method of contraception, female sterilization. Not only that, one very, very burning hot topic which has full chances of being asked anytime in your examination, which happens to be the newer contraceptives. So I'll try to hurry up through the female sterilization part, because most of it, it's been there, and I'm sure all of you must be doing that. Not only the abdominal sterilization, but even the laparoscopic. Many of you must have witnessed, must have seen, and you need to, because now laparoscopy is the way to go. Just to cut open a patient's belly only for sterilization is not the in thing, and the mini lab is not very what I would say technically a very good operation. So best is to go for maybe a laparoscopic sterilization, so on and so forth, and the techniques, the various methods, what is interval sterilization, what is postpartum sterilization, which is good, which is bad. Everything is going to be discussed in today's lecture. A question has been asked on indemnity scheme, which you should know. Living in India, knowing about all these things is very, very important. In fact, a full question was asked on indemnity scheme. I have included that as well in your lecture. The different methodologies of sterilization, different methods of sterilization have been included as well. And of course, then I take you through the newer contraception, which includes almost everything, with my gift slide towards the end. So towards the end is what you will actually find the whole gist of what I'm going to tell you today. And that slide is going to give you, remember everybody who was there in my mail when I was talking about male contraception, I tried to summarize everything in one of the slides. So I deliberately placed these slides somewhere probably towards the end or somewhere in between later on, so that everybody is there listening, and everybody who's there with me till the end gets some reward out of this class. See, the idea is to make you realize that how important organization is. Once you know that one slide, your whole mind wraps around it. You can easily write down things about those points, but you should know what points you have to write. So when we were studying about, contraception is an always evolving topic, right? You have another paper on contraception. So a question on newer contraceptives is very much anticipated. And not only newer contraceptive, maybe newer hormonal contraception or new male contraceptive. So in that case, if you start writing down condoms and stuff like that, nobody's going to, and vasectomy and stuff, you're not going to get any points. If you write down, a long answer for a 10 marks for, writing down vasectomy and condom and barriers and all, you will not secure marks. I've been asking you very consistently, very specifically about newer contraceptives. So you'll have to write down exactly those which I spoke to you in the last class, which I'm obviously not going to include here again. Male contraceptives was a lecture taken in the last class and was up there on the Telegram channel as well. It's still there in my live class recording folder. So anybody who's missed it, please go and watch it. I had also posted the Pomeroy's method and the practical difficulties and the practical tips that you need to know while performing the Pomeroy's method in my Telegram channel. It's still there. Please go ahead and watch that lecture, because that's just going to reinforce the same concept in a better style. And without any further time delay, let's start tonight's class. So before I start the class, there is an announcement that I'd like to make, though I have made it on my Telegram page. One of you, the students, was generous enough for us to just post this thing on the Telegram channel as well. So everybody, all my lovely students who've been who just recently cleared the April 23 theory exam, your practical dates have been announced. As you can see over here, you have the batch 1 on 17th August, you have the batch 2 on 26th August. So please be very mindful, careful of filling the form and doing all the formalities that you need to, and gear up back again to study for the practicals. And with this, I start the class tonight. So tubal ligation, of course, what are the indications? Anybody who's now desiring for a complete permanent method of sterilization, does not want to, get into the trouble of, these temporary methods of taking a pill every day or putting on the condom every time or using copper ICDs. They don't want to go through all this trouble. All right. So now they want a permanent method of sterilization. You have to give this option. Okay, the ones who've completed childbearing, the ones who've got families complete, and sometimes even for those people, that tubal pathology has been associated with ovarian cancer. So some people who are very scared of that will, voluntarily adopt it after the second child. Though, they have always a scope of maybe another pregnancy, but they'll go ahead and say that I don't want to go ahead with it. I want not only sterilization, but my tubes to be removed as a needles for development of ovarian cancer. So these were the indications. What is the only contraindication? Anybody who's even this much in doubt of, maybe not desiring a complete method of sterilization, they will be the ones who are contraindicated. So basically, it's what any desire of patient or patient's family for a future child is a contraindication. So there are various methods of tubal ligation, and they all have surgical risks. So anybody who doesn't want to go through an operative intervention, maybe to a certain extent, yes, it's a contraindication. And anybody who's not qualifying as a good surgical candidate, yes, very important. Anybody who's not a good surgical candidate will be a contraindication to the ligation. Now here I'd like to ask you, this is the preparation. Of course, we need to, the timing is very, very important. Then you have to preoperatively take consent. Very important is the consent. Now you just tell me whether, in your chat box quickly, guys, whether the patient's consent is enough or, the husband also has to consent for the ligation. Come on, guys. You have to answer me this question in the chat, whether patient alone is enough to give the consent or you need to take it from the... Yes, great. Very quick then. Guys, you've become very, very alert, very agile. I like this response. Everybody is answering. That's very good. So these are, you already know these answers. It's just that you are like reinforcing it. So quickly, we're going ahead with the next question. Of course, see, prophylactic antibiotics are not recommended, but in Indian scenario, well, I wouldn't want to go ahead with any operative intervention without prophylactic antibiotics. Again, if somebody asks you, are they recommended? No, they're not, right? Not recommended at least prior to the laparoscopic tubal ligations. But open, well, they're not exactly recommended, but it's prophylactically definitely given. And of course, they should all the other pre-op modalities of whatever modality you take before an operation, all those things are included when you're talking a patient towards tubal ligation. So consent is very, very important. Sometimes what happens is that is a third cesarean. We presume it's going to be a tubal ligation. Patient has given a verbal consent and the consent is written cesarean section and the sign is done. Until and unless it's written cesarean along with tubal ligation, it's not a complete consent, correct? So you've not taken a consent only with the third cesarean section. The consent has also been given about tubal ligation. So please, when you're filling the forms at the postgraduate level, we expect you people to be responsible enough in their paperwork. So mention and always cross-check, okay, that whether this tubal ligation has also been mentioned or not. The route should not be mentioned. The method should not be mentioned, okay? Abdominal, laparoscopic, open, modified pomeroids, whatever. You don't have to mention that. Tubal ligation, bilateral tubal ligation. Now, the next question. So we can see over here the timing of tubal ligation, which is another question which is going to be asked sometimes in OSCE, sometimes in your table viva. So can you tell me, like I've already mentioned it, one is postpartum, one is post-abortion, and one is interval. So what is interval ligation? Quickly, guys, in your chat box, if you're already there, the ones who are not there, please just tap the pinned message on your Telegram channel and you'll automatically be directed towards this chat. So you can have a direct conversation with me. Okay, 6 weeks agreed. And can anybody tell me why do we mention the 6 weeks time? Why do we want to go in for an interval ligation? Suppose, see, this, first of all, interval ligation mostly for which people? The ones who've had a normal delivery, right? The ones who've had a cesarean section might as well have a postpartum ligation, right? Postpartum, let me just clear it. Postpartum means immediately after delivery. Post-abortion means immediately after abortion, in whichever way, right? And interval means sometime after the first, or sometime after the delivery. And sometime after the delivery means maybe after the first period or so, right? That will be always better. Yes. So the idea is the anatomy kind of goes back to normal, right? You must have seen and I'm sure did many ligations by now. So have you seen the tortuous veins which are there? The uterus which is so big in size. So that is what I've told you in my video which is there. Please go ahead and watch that because it's a very practical video. I usually speak things which are not written in your books so that you get that practical experience from my experience. The ones which I have, experienced while I was growing up, right from the PG stage to this stage of being a consultant. The journey is not very, it's usually unspoken of. Nobody, kind of talks about the learning years or the learning curve, the difficulties you face, what thing was not spoken, right? But there are so many. So those tips and tricks I discuss in my videos. What I speak is basically the things which nobody tells you, and you suddenly face those difficulties. When you face those difficulties, you realize that this thing was never taught, is not there in any book. It has happened with me, picking up the 2 tubes from each side, and the first bite that I took, it punctured a vein, and the big hematoma was formed. Once a vein is punctured and a hematoma is formed, it is very difficult to manage from there. Okay, because veins, they are not, especially the veins in the mesosalpinx, and then the veins of pregnancy, they are highly tortuous and very, very dilated. So the wall does not have any strength. So you keep trying to hold and keep tying innumerable sutures. Every time there'll be a cut through. So that kind of hematoma and that kind of bleed is very difficult to manage once it happens. So anyways, these kind of tips are given. The idea of interval sterilization, especially for a patient who's just delivered normally, is that anatomy comes back in its normal shape. That could be 6 weeks, that could be 2 months, maybe after the first period will be a better way to